All right, so we got a LG washer here, and we're going to put it in diagnostic, as you see, and we're checking the pump. So you want to verify that your pump is bad. Now, a couple ways of doing that. You can check your power supply, and when you put the unit in diagnostic, you will hear the pump. If you hear the pump, that means you're getting power from the board, and the board is good. If you don't hear the pump, it could mean you have a broken wire, or you could have a bad pump that is stuck. Normally when a pump is working or it's getting power, you can hear a humming or something. So keep that in mind. But 9 times out of 10 on an LG, you're looking around 10 years for the pump before the pump goes. They're pretty reliable actually. And once you replace the pump, you should be good to go again. You can hear the pump. Power is going to the pump. So we know the board is good based on the power going to the pump. We don't have to even check for voltage. We might, just to show you in case you don't know. So the drain pump is not draining because the impeller is moving, but this part is not turning. So this is no good. All right, so we're gonna change the pump. It should have drained. All right, sometimes you can actually tip these things back and change the pump from underneath. I'll tell you from experience. You're gonna change your pump, screw, okay? Screw here, screw there. Disconnect your door switch, and you're gonna have some screws. Once this is removed, you have a screw back here too. And then a couple of screws along here behind this cover, and then you just take this front off and you have full access. You also have to remove this, which is easy. Just a little spring, and get under it with your, I don't know, like a pick or something. Now don't stretch, you want to just slide. Unplug this. We might need to take this off if we're going to check for voltage to the drain pump, which I'll show you. So you would actually just loosen this and push this back in since you're going to be using it. Now we might have to bring the lock up to this so the machine will lock. All right, or we'll leave the lock in and just bring it back up close together. So we'll just unplug it. It's a lot easier. Door switch, you can actually do it from here. Pull this off. Easier than taking the entire unit apart. All right, let's take it apart. All right, so I want to point something out. This is your drain hose. That's your drain pump. Sometimes you might have two pumps, depending on your model. So if you have a pump sitting over there, that's probably going to be your circulating pump or circulation pump. So be very mindful if you have a situation to where your washer is not draining and you have two pumps. If you change the wrong pump, your washer is still not going to be draining. So pay attention to where this gray tube is. If it's over your pump, then you're good. So you do have to remove this. This whole piece is going to come out, and the piece that screws on right here is a pump. That's the housing, so you don't change the entire piece. Sometimes you can order it if yours is damaged. So we're going to check right now for power. So for example, before you actually replace the pump, if you're not sure what you're doing, those are the wires. You have your black and the brown, and we're going to remove those. Put our meter leads in those wires, and we're going to put the machine back into diagnostic. We're going to verify that we're getting power to the pump. I know we're getting power here. In your case, I don't know. So we want to make sure that the board is supplying voltage going to the drain pump to make it drain. Now, if you want to be on the safe side, I don't think they're polarity sensitive, but your black goes up top and brown to the bottom. You can also mark and then, or B, whatever, just a little reference point. Everything helps. Now I'm going to unplug. We got our wires. Now these wires are kept in a little keeper. It's a little under hook, so you can bring it out and you can test. You're gonna set your meter, volts AC. Now you don't want to make these holes large. If they can fit, then nice. Don't force anything into them. If anything, you can go from the back side and use a piece of tape. Okay, now we're gonna put the unit back in diagnostic. You gotta put the door back on and plug the door switch in.
Cool. Okay. I'll be there, right there. This is what I
All right, so we're gonna be replacing that. What we're gonna do now, we're gonna raise the front up because you do have a lot of water back here. Or if you have a clamp, which I have, I might use that. I'm gonna clamp it off here, and then you will still get a little bit of water, but not a lot. So radiator pliers or a good flat, like a needle nose pliers, will stop the water that's in the tub pouring all out on your floor. All right, so it's time to remove the pump housing. Those are 10 millimeter bolts. So make sure your socket says 10 millimeter and you shouldn't have a problem. I want to point something out real quick on your washer. If your washer, you hear the pump going, but it's not draining, get a shop vac and remove the drain hose from the drain, and remove your filter, by the way, from your shop vac, and go ahead and suck and see. A lot of times you may have debris into your drain hose, stopping it from draining. So try that first before you actually replace the pump. But again, if your LG is around 10 years old, 9, 10, sometimes even 12, then it's pretty much time to replace the drain pump. So keep that in mind. So what I'm doing here is just making small marks. It makes getting your screws back in the correct location, especially if you're not sure or remember where they were. So realign your old pump with your new pump and compare where the screws were. But if you put a little mark, Sharpie mark, it makes replacing it a lot easier when it's back on there. So, and you do have to not remove the two bottom screws at the bottom of the housing. Just loosen them so that you get the pump motor up, and it makes retrieving it a lot easier. So pretty straightforward. Just follow along, and you can't mess up. All right, so we're getting ready to put the front cover on, and I want to point something out. Once you've gotten the two clips, there are going to be two tabs at the bottom. Make sure it's seated well. You don't want to get that front on and then you realize you need to pull it back off to lift it up. And make sure your wires are not in the way as you push the front on. Now, these are all Phillips screws on LGs, and keep in mind the rusty ones, move them. So if they were right there, move them to the right so that they don't continue to rust. So, and you can switch them around just so you have good screws. Now, time to put your door switch wire in, or your door harness for the door switch. Get that plugged in so you don't forget. Whenever you start on a portion of the repair, once you touch it, try to finish it instead of going back to it. It's very easy to forget. This is a great tool. It helps in getting that spring stretched so you don't have to fight with it. Go.
Yeah.
Yep. Hard to say. Yeah, some stuff came out. So 10 years is about the life